like Ventura TV Appliance on Facebook, it's nice. But when you love the Whirlpool appliances we deliver, it's even better. Our website is cool, and it's a good place to start, but you really should touch the merchandise before you buy. Touch the new Whirlpool Ice Collection. It offers a modern style made to create an inspiring kitchen experience. Save big on this Whirlpool Black Ice or White Ice kitchen. Come in to Ventura TV Appliance and touch the merchandise today.
Hi, I'm John Mallows. Welcome to this live edition of Connect With Me here on the showroom floor at Ventura TV. Politics again on the minds of us here at Connect With Me on Comcast Channel 187 and 43.6. We'll have in the house today one person who wants to be the next judge here in Fresno County Superior Court. He's running for a seat. You can call in at 436-MeTV, option 11. Do turn down the sound. We encourage you to be a part of the program today, my friends. Be back in a moment.
Tonight I want to discuss the importance of the television medium to the American people.
Hey, so welcome to this live edition of Connect With Me. The previous program that you were watching between 10 a.m. and 10:30 was a pre-recorded broadcast of this broadcast that goes on YouTube later on, but that's a different story. Now you can call in. We understand the phone lines were just lit up here in our studio. Well, now you can light them up. You can actually call in and ask a question. This is a live program talking to one Chuck Magill today. In fact, we're talking about the judges race. I don't know if you saw the Fresno Bee this morning, but if you saw the editorial page, they did endorse two candidates in the runoff on June the 3rd. And of course, we've had a parade of candidates come in and will up until that time. Today, the Fresno Bee endorsed Rachel Hill and Lisa Gamoyan. We'll talk to our guest about that and why the Fresno Bee is doing that. And we want to talk about that judge's seat. I want to take you to a full screen photo. That is the man who's retiring, Judge Robert Oliver. That's right. He's been on the bench now for what? The better part of 20 years. And the man looking to fill the seat, well, here's one of them. Let's take a look at that list of candidates. Charles Magill, he's a defense attorney. Jarrett Klein, Stephen Smith, Rachel Hill, a former Fresno County DA, and Lisa Gamoyan, Fresno County prosecutor, endorsed by the Bee earlier today, live in our studio, and you can talk to him live. This is a live program that you're watching. 436-MeTV, option 11. Charles Magill running for Fresno County Superior Court seat. He's looking to replace Judge Robert H. Oliver. He is retiring, of course, at the end of the year. He's been on the bench for the better part of 20 years, but there are a lot of issues on the table. Hey, who's going to win that DA's race? How many inmates are they letting out, and what can we do about the jail system to keep these people in? 436-MeTV, option 11. Do call in. Do turn down the sound. We're back with our friend Charles Magill in just a moment.
Don't you ever hit me again!
Chief, I think we got a hit on our hands.
MeTV Fresno, now on Comcast Channel 187.
Well, 'tis the season, the political season. I'll tell you what, we're trying to fill this seat 15 on the bench, of course, Fresno County Superior Court. And Charles Magill, our friend here at Connect With Me, has been on here many times, including with his wife, Laura. How are you, Chuck?
I'm well, John.
Good to see you on this Friday. Hey, so 'tis the season, right?
'Tis the season.
I mean,
to be ready. Yeah.
We're getting down to the nitty-gritty here now. June the 3rd is fast approaching. Can you believe it?
Well, reality is the voting's occurring right now because the absentee ballots are out, and this is going to be a I expect to be a small turnout race, so right now people are voting.
And let me ask you about the absentees, because a lot of people ask me about them. You know, how important are they? Do people really vote absent? Are more and more people voting absentee, do you think, because they just don't want to go to the polls?
You know, I think the absentee ballot gives an opportunity for someone to look at the campaign and think about it in their home and read all the material that they want. I think it gives you an opportunity to be a little more informed.
Yeah.
Plus, it also guarantees your vote's going to come in, so nothing that happens on June the 3rd is going to keep you from getting to the polls. The reality that I see, or what we've learned, is that absentee voters are consistent voters. And so my campaign has been focused on knocking on the doors of absentee voters who are voting in every election. And so I've been doing that for the past 2 weeks.
When you knock on a door, let's play the role here. Let's say you come to my house and you knock on the door. What do you initially say to that person, that potential voter?
I say, hello, my name is Charles Magill, and I'd like to be your Superior Court judge. I've got a pamphlet here that has some information about my campaign. These are some of the people that are supporting me and why. And I'm different than my opponents because I'm from the private sector versus a government attorney. And this is why it should be important to you to have someone from the private sector filling Bob's seat.
Right.
And I've had such a positive response to that. I'm getting emails to my campaign page. I'm getting Facebook posts about people saying, wow, I've never had a candidate come to my door. I'm so excited to have an opportunity to speak to somebody who's actually running for office. And
especially judge.
Yeah, especially a judge. I mean,
walking up to someone's door.
Sure. And the reality is the joy I get from the opportunity is to meet all these wonderful people in Fresno County, and I've just had a blast doing that. And I walk campaign, and after I leave, I look at my list, and I've got 50 new votes for that evening.
How many doors do you say that in your mind you walk a day or a week?
Usually I try to go in the evening hours between 5 and 8, trying to leave time out for dinner. If I knock on a door and someone's eating, then I'll sit in the car and wait for 30 minutes and try to make sure I miss the people's dinner hour. And I'll walk until it's dark. I usually get through about 50 to 60 names in an evening.
And you feel comfortable with that number?
Absolutely.
For the most part. And you've been doing that for how long?
I've been doing it for the last week and a half.
Okay. But you've been campaigning now for how many months?
The whole time. I've been campaigning since February.
We do have a call coming in. Good morning, caller. You're on the air on Connect With Me. What's your question for Chuck?
Well, Chuck, I vote by absentee ballot, and I noticed that whenever they call the election and say who has been elected and so on and so forth, it seems like they haven't counted the absentee ballots yet. So am I voting for nothing?
No, absolutely not. That's a good question.
That's a great question.
I believe that the absentee ballots usually are the things that make the race turn. They will talk about the indicated current voters, but in the last couple of elections, and in this one even more importantly, it's the absentees that have swayed the election. So I don't believe that your absentee ballot is thrown away. I think it's very important.
So what's the, Brandy Orth has been on here, and she's the Fresno County Registrar. So what happens on election night? They count the initial votes that come in from the people who actually go into the ballot box to vote. And then what happens to the absentees? Do they have to eventually count them too?
I could be wrong because I never followed that directly, but I believe the way it's done is on the day of the election, the absentee ballots have to be in before that day. And I think actually you can turn them in until 8 o'clock that evening. After that, they count the votes that are coming in because those immediately go into the system, and then they start opening the absentees and start counting the absentees.
Afterwards?
After that same evening.
But I'm pretty sure it's mandatory. They have to count those absentees.
Oh, absolutely. And the absentee votes are the ones that have made big differences in the last races, particularly small races like this, countywide race where it's really hard to get the word out, so to speak. The absentees are going to be key here.
Yeah, and so absentees are important in your mind?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right. Is it different running in a city-wide race as opposed to the county, because the county is so big? You're hitting so many different areas when you're talking about the county, and you could be talking about Sanger, you could be talking about so many Coalinga, so many different. Yeah, I mean,
Oakhurst.
look how far it spreads out. So how do you hit all those areas? It's really difficult, right?
We are in the 5th largest county in California.
Right.
And it's a population that's spread out. What I have done is I look at the districts, and I look at the number of consistent voters in those districts. And then I focus on voters who voted in the last 5 elections. And so I go to the districts where there are a larger number of absentee voters who have consistently voted. What's caused that to happen is I'm at the north end of town and in Clovis quite a bit, because that's where the bigger pockets are. It's kind of hard to do that in the community out in Coalinga or Sanger or in Kingsburg, because of the fact that I'm looking for the bigger number.
I see. So you're looking for your strategy is to look for the most populated areas in the county with the most voters, and looking at the consistency of the voters, the voting trends.
That's right.
In those pockets.
Like for instance, I was out in Clovis last night, and what I did was I had a precinct list, and I would go from house to house that was on my precinct list of absentee voters who'd voted in the last 5 elections. So it would be this house, 5 houses down, that house, 6 houses down, that house. It was not every house, every door knocked on. But
what do you say to a voter that says, no, you walk up to a house and you knock on the door and they say, you know what, Mr. McGill, I haven't voted in the last 4 elections because I have voter apathy. Nobody ever gets anything done when they get in there. What is your response usually?
I'm sorry, I must be at the wrong address, because my focus is on absentee voters who vote in every election. I'm really sorry that you're not voting, because the reality is I would be at your front door right now if you'd voted the last 5 elections.
But do you try to convince them that it is important to go out and vote?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think that this judge's race is an extremely important race for our community.
Yeah.
And it's important because it's rare that we have judges running for election. I think that they should, because they need to be connected to their community more, and I think that they'd have a heck of a lot more credibility if they did.
Yep. Another caller, you're on the air. Hello.
Okay, you seem like a nice guy, and I'd gladly talk to you if you came to my front door. So what are your values? What do you stand for? What are you going to accomplish, and how are you going to handle yourself in office?
Wow, great questions, all of them. My values, it's funny. I was given some grief from some liberal folks because the Fresno Bee, when they talked about the candidates a few months ago, mentioned that I would judge from my Judeo-Christian values. The reality is, I was born and raised and a believer, and so my morals are based upon my Christian philosophy. So, and I'm proud to say that I'm going to use my Judeo-Christian values to judge from. Your next question was, let's see, there's my values. Now you know where that's at.
How are you going to conduct yourself once you're elected?
I'm going to conduct myself the way I've conducted myself in my practice, and that is I respect everybody that comes before me. And one of the things that I've seen from great judges is they treat everyone with respect, regardless of whether they're in a suit or they're in a jail suit. And that's my goal, is to be respectful to the people that appear before me. And I think that's extremely important.
Yeah.
And I feel lucky to be from the private sector, because I think that's given me the attitude that, the people that come in to see you, you can never tell.
Yeah.
And if you're from the government, you just don't get that kind of contact.
As long as you are strong in your convictions, and you appear to be strong in every conviction that you have and every piece of bone in your body. Charles Magill is here. He's running for Fresno County Superior Court Judge, Seat 15. Your phone calls are important. Hey, this program here, the one you're watching now, is a live one. The previous one with Devin Nunes was on tape. Now you can call in at 436 MeTV option 11. Do turn down the sound. Back in a moment.
When you're looking for Whirlpool innovation and quality, who has the answers, the selection, the price? Ventura TV Appliance. With billions in nationwide appliance buying power, more than Home Depot and Best Buy combined, we'll help you save. Our low prices on Energy Star qualified Whirlpool appliances save you energy and money, and pay no interest on select models when paid in full within 12 months. Ventura TV Appliance, serving you since 1951.
Got a call coming in for Charles Magill, running for Fresno County Superior Court Judge. Good morning, caller. Your question, please.
Morning.
Yes. First, I'd like to say I thought that last caller asked some really great questions. My question is what you have done in the past for the community that should really make you stand out and go for election.
Well, I really appreciate that question, too, because I think that's what really distinguishes me from my opponents. I've been in the private sector for 25 years. My opponents have all been government employees. Now, they're going to say they've been working for you because they're government employees, but they've been working for a salary for you. Me, on the other hand, I've been in the private sector, and I've done a lot of pro bono work. Pro bono is a nice Latin word for I did it for free. I've represented students who've been in the process of being expelled by their districts, and my wife and I worked together, and we did that as a service to our community. We've been mock trial coaches for 7 years, which means we coached high school kids, and I'm proud to say that one of my mockers is one of my employees right now. She just finished Fresno State, and she's in her first year of San Joaquin College of Law. And the reason why she's in law school is because we gave her that hope, and we gave her that belief. And that's something I'm proud to say my wife did.
Yeah.
Also, I've done pro bono work for First Amendment privileges, as well as religious freedom. I am the only person in this race who's actually fought for constitutional rights. Last year, I received the Parker Carlton Award from Pacific Justice Institute, the largest private organization whose focus is on religious freedom. I received their award over all attorneys in California that did pro bono work for them, because of the fact that I represented a Fresno City College professor who is being attacked because of his position on religious freedom. So I'm the only one in this race that can say, yes, I have fought for the Constitution, and I fought for it at my cost.
Amazing. Thank you, caller, for that question. Let's put up the list of candidates one more time. Running for this seat number 15 as Judge Robert H. Oliver retires after about 20 years on the bench. So what do you make of the B supporting Hill and Gamoyan? Why the endorsement? I'm
disappointed, but I'm not surprised. Both Gamoyan and Hill have gotten the lion's shares of big donors.
Yeah.
I think that's a good and bad thing. I think it's a bad thing when you have a judge that has donors that are giving her $1,500 to $2,000 or $2,500 to $10,000. That's a bad thing because clearly that person's going to have an impact on them if they show up in their courtroom.
Yeah.
And those two candidates have been very successful at getting big donors to endorse them. Rachel, because her husband's on the bench, her husband's actually endorsed her campaign and send out fundraising requests to attorneys that appear in his courtroom, asking them to endorse his wife, as well as give her an endorsement and a check for at least $1,000 or more. Now, those kind of things are questionable to me, and I think it creates enormous problems from an ethical perspective for that judge when they're elected. I'm not surprised the B would go with the folks that are pulling in the biggest money, though. That's typically what you expect the B to do.
Biggest difference between you and all those other candidates?
Biggest difference is this is a grassroots campaign. The majority of the funds that have been spent on this campaign have been out of my pocket because I think it's important to bring the issues before the public. The other issue is it's a grassroots campaign where, as far as I know, I'm the only one knocking on people's doors and asking them for their vote, because I'm not trying to buy this election by going to big donors and asking them for money so I can put signs everywhere you can possibly imagine the county, to the point to where are you running for judge, or are you just polluting the roadways with huge signs everywhere with your name on it? That's not my approach.
Yeah. Your wife, Laura, we knew her here. I didn't know her well, but I did know her. There she is there, beautiful lady. Sadly passed away over the holidays, Christmas, breast cancer, and she was a guest here quite a few times, actually. Was she a better attorney than you, by the way? I just thought of that. I think you learned a lot from her, right?
She was better than me in all things, John.
How much did you learn from?
I married up. Any
you
good
did,
man
didn't
does.
you? You did.
I married up. I mean, the folks tell me, how did you find such a beautiful woman? And I said, I did it the old-fashioned way. I clubbed her over the head and I brought her back into my cave and didn't let her get free until she was in love with me. So I mean, I was blessed because she was a little nearsighted, so I stayed a certain distance away from her, and so she thought I was really attractive.
I thought you were Rock Hudson back in 1948, right?
It was the Cyril Bergerac kind of a thing. I had the really cute guy up in front of her, and I'm back there with a big nose talking about how lovely she is. No, I was blessed beyond words. And
seriously, what did you learn from Laura?
You know, I learned her commitment to the public. I mean, she was raised in a family that, you know, Paula Guzman, her mother, has been involved in politics in Fresno County for years. They give back to their community. The National Hardware Store has been giving to the community for years. That's the way she was raised, and that was the way she was taught. And that's what she taught me was, you know, we need to be active in our community. We're not just here to run a business, and that's important, but we're here to serve our community.
Caller, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hi. You are a defense attorney now. I'm not clear if you were in the government or if you were on your private practice. But why run for judge? What can you do as a judge that you cannot do as a defense attorney?
You know, that's a good question. That's a good question.
See, the callers have better questions than I do because they're smarter than I am.
Okay, I can't disagree with you. So far, they've been knocking it out of the park.
I know.
Caller, I want to say this, and that is, you know, I've been very happy defending people and defending the Constitution individually, one by one. It's been my pleasure to be a constitutional defender. And defense work gives me the opportunity to fight constitutional rights on a regular basis. With the passing of my wife, who was my business partner, it's not comfortable coming back to the office without her because I loved her and I missed her terribly. So I figured the best thing I can do is take my practice to the public, to be a public servant. And as a judge, I see a judge having an impact on the community. I see it literally as a bully pulpit to talk about issues. I have the opportunity as a judge to rule on constitutional issues. And those things are important to our community. And they're important to me. So that's why I'm running for judges, because I want to be part of the answer, not part of the complaint. I want to be the judge that says, Margaret, I understand you got problems with the jail overcrowding. What can we do to help you from the bench? How do I stop serving people into you that you're going to have to kick out so you can keep the jails for the violent offenders? Those answers have got to come from the judges. They can't just say, well, Margaret just released another one because she doesn't have room in her jail. They need to recognize their responsibility to our community and come up with decisions and ideas that keep only the violent criminals in prison, and we start solving the problems we have of non-violent criminals.
We got to take a break. I want to expand more on that jail overcrowding and letting the prisoners out early. 436 MeTV option 11. You are watching a live edition of Connect With Me. You can call in. In fact, you've been calling in and have much better questions than I do. 436 MeTV option 11. Back with our final segment here with Charles Magill in a moment.
Remember me?
After practicing law, Raymond Berg fought crime.
You have the right to an attorney.
As a hard-boiled detective on wheels.
Ain't it the truth?
His name is Ironside.
Perhaps you wouldn't mind saying it again.
His name is Ironside.
All right, now you've said it.
Nothing slows him down.
I want to see this one firsthand.
Now on MeTV Fresno, Xfinity 187.
Well, what are we waiting for?
436 MeTV option 11. Do call in. We do have another caller on Connect With Me. Good morning, and your question for Charles Magill. Caller, go ahead. Hey, caller, you're on the line. Go ahead. Okay. Well, anyway, we lost that one. Anyway, moving on. Jail overcrowding. Prisoners being released early. I think about 60 or so, give or take, are being released per day. Some of the nonviolent offenders. Still a big complaint. The city is complaining because they're having to foot the bill for more beds than the county is at the jail. You know about that. Okay, so the city is really upset about that. City of Fresno. Blanc John was in here talking about that the other day. How do you solve this problem? Not only between the city and the county, who's going to pay for what bed and how many beds, and then the releasing of prisoners, and then the overcrowding. Yeah. It seems like a triangle.
You know, I think we've got a systemic problem in our community, and it's not just Fresno; it's the statewide. You know, I was talking to Mr. Sahota, who's a member of our community who owns a trucking business, and he was asking me. He says, "Well, how do you feel about all the people incarcerated in California?" I said, "What do you think about that?" He says, "I'm from India. I was born in India, and I've come here to America, and I've built this business over these years. What do you think about the fact that California has a higher prison population per capita than almost anywhere in the world? And I said, I think it's a tragedy, and I think it's an atrocity that we have such a high prison population.
Good morning. You're on Connect with Me, caller. Go ahead, quickly.
Yes, I'd just like to make a comment that Mr. McGill, made as keeping the nonviolent people from going to jail. I've been 100% disabled since 2005, and I've been put in jail probably 7 or 8 times for contempt of not paying child support. I don't have the ability to pay the child support, and first to be found guilty of contempt, you have to have an intent. You have to be intentionally contempt. This is out of my control. I have no control over this. I have a physical disability that keeps me from working. I've given the court papers from at least 4 different doctors telling them.
All right. I appreciate the phone call very much. We get the gist of your call. And so what, in your opinion, Charles, should this society do with nonviolent offenders if we are going to let them out? What's your solution?
One of the solutions that I would like to use is I think the judges need to take a little more of an active role in their courtroom when they're talking about somebody that they're going to send to jail for a few days, like this gentleman. Have them sit in court. Have them sit and watch the process. The reality is you can order people back every day if you have to. Fill your courtroom with people that are pending sentencing for jail, and let the courtrooms be the opportunity for you to speak to these people and also have them see how the system works to deter them from getting involved in the court system again.
Good morning, caller. You're on the air. Got to make it very quick. We've got about a minute left. Go ahead.
Question I have is, when are they going to make the jail cells not a country club where those guys just sit, eat, and weight lift and actually do some work where they don't want to be there?
Okay,
thanks. That's my question.
Thank you.
Well, I don't know how much a judge can have an impact on how they administer the jail. But I've been to the jails to visit clients, and it's no country club that I've seen.
Do we rehabilitate those nonviolent offenders?
I think the reality is we've changed our penal system from the philosophy that we had when we started. Penal means to penitence, to a system of punishment, and we need to get back into the idea of penitence and an opportunity for people to be able to come back into our community whole versus just
rehabilitating them.
Rehabilitating them. The penitent man is one who accepts his sin and walks into change, asking forgiveness for those he hurts, and moving forward in a direction to help his community.
That costs money to do that.
We need to go back there, though. I mean, the reality of it is, money is not going to be solving this problem. It's going to have to take volunteerism. It's going to have to take us as a community being involved in our system. I think it's there. I think we can make a difference, but we've got to get involved in it.
Chuck, we got about a minute left to tell people out there how they can get in touch with you to donate to your campaign if they so choose, or contact you if they want.
Thank you. I have a website, McGillforJudge.com. You can go on PayPal and make a donation to my campaign. You can endorse my campaign by checking a box. You can request street signs on that campaign page, McGillforJudge.com. That's the best way to get in contact with me right now, and I'd love to have your support, because this is a grassroots campaign where I'm looking for individual support, not the $1,000, but the $50, the $75, the $100. So
and
please
if they want
endorse
to
me.
talk to you and ask you a question, can they do that?
Those phone number, that email will give you a campaign number for my campaign, which is my wife's phone.
Okay.
It's 289-7530.
All right, Charles.
Thank you, John, for having me on.
Hey, you're a friend of ours here. Good luck to you in the campaign.
Thanks so
You're welcome
much.
anytime. All
Thank
right.
you so much.
Thank you for being here, too. Connect with me. We're going to interview all the candidates, of course, leading up to June the 3rd, and you're welcome to call in at a later time at another program. We'll see you back here on Monday, live with a very great guest on Monday. Have a great weekend. We'll see you then.
Do you like me?
Just like me.
Like MeTV Fresno on Facebook. Get the latest news, interact with others, watch videos, become a fan of me. Exclusively brought to you by Ventura TV.